The Panthers grinded out a win on opening night, and it's likely going to be the norm in this 2025-26 season.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Wednesday, October 8th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at MondoMan12. That is Jacob Winans here on another edition of Winans Wednesday. You can follow him on X at JakeW_8. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com and to win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So, Panther fans, grateful to be back here once again on another edition of the show to discuss everything in the world of the Florida Panthers, where the Panthers grinded out a 3-2 win over the Chicago Blackhawks on opening night. And Jacob, for those who are not watching this on YouTube, we are in person breaking down this 3-2 win for the Florida Panthers over the Chicago Blackhawks. Another in-person show, our third one, I believe. And I hit you up saying that I wanted to run it back this year, just like last year. But hey, look what happened. The Florida Panthers ended up winning. We didn't have to deal with a hurricane this time around like we did last year in 2024. But outstanding win for the Florida Panthers, and not in a blowout fashion like it was last year, but still a win is a win.
Yeah, it's kind of becoming a tradition at this point. We're going to have to keep doing it if they keep winning.
Yes.
I think they're, 12-0-2 now in opening night games at home. It's the best mark in the NHL. And last night was a little bit different from some of the home openers that we've seen over the years. We've seen a lot of blowouts. We've seen a lot of high-scoring games. Last night was a little bit different. And it's definitely going to be more what we're going to see this season. But it was good to see. It was good to see the depth guys come through, and I thought they did a really good job of sticking to their game and playing to their style. And it could have been a lot higher score. They could have blown that game open if not for some really, really timely saves from Spencer Knight, who it was also good to see. He played a tremendous game in goal for Chicago.
Yeah, he got a video tribute after the first TV timeout. Also, the Panthers did a tribute to Steven Ric Flair Alario during the second TV timeout. So that was a nice gesture from the Florida Panthers in the first period. But before all that, it was Aaron Ekblad who brought out the cup for the Panthers to put it on the pedestal right before they raised their second consecutive Stanley Cup banner. And then you saw on the bench Alexander Barkov, Matthew Tkachuk, and Tomas Nosek still there in street clothes, but still around the team there. So grateful to see the guys still around. And the Panthers, their game was outstanding when it came to winning the 50-50 puck battles and then their speed to win the foot races, whether it was getting behind the defense for the blue line for the Chicago Blackhawks. I mean, after the first period, they were leading in shots on goal 17-3. I mean, their second overall pick from just a few years ago, Artem Leshonov, 2 penalties in the first period, and there were times where even he was struggling when it came to the amount of breakaways that the Panthers were getting on the night, and especially down low, it was hard to beat Spencer. Like, he got those pads down, stretching the leg. Those were the hardest goal shots that the Panthers were trying to get through Spencer. But north-south game, that's really what it came down to, and just using their speed and gap control. The Panthers would come out with speed as they were heading towards the corners, and then right when you think that they are going to possibly get it back to the point, they're cutting in, and either there's an outstanding opportunity that Carter Verhaeghe had on an entry. Sam Bennett to Carter Verhaeghe. He goes backhand as he was cutting in. Spencer Knight got that left pad down, and also some of the shorthanded chances they had. 3 for 3 on the penalty kill. Luke Cunnin had probably the best chance of the night on the PK last night, and they also had to deal with it with some guys going down the tunnel. There were not injuries to the point where somebody was out of the game. Sam Reinhart gets hit in the mouth. Second consecutive opening night that someone gets hit in the mouth. Adam Boqvist last year, Sam Reinhart this year. AJ Greer gets hit in the man region. Evan Rodriguez takes a shot to the knee. So the Panthers had to deal with a lot of getting bruised early in this one as well.
Yeah, it was another game of sort of the Panthers' toughness on display. Reinhart had quite the zipper on his chin afterwards. Evan Rodriguez, it looked bad. You assume that was kind of a dead leg spot. Puck hit him and comes back, but no, that's going to be the norm this season. The way they play doesn't change. The guys who are in the lineup, it's going to be the same Panther style, and they're going to be asked to block shots. They're going to be asked to forecheck hard. They're going to be asked to win the 50-50 battles and grind on the boards, and that takes a lot out of guys. And you're definitely going to see games where guys go down the tunnel, and sometimes they're going to come back, sometimes they're not. The Panthers' forward depth is really going to be tested, especially in the first 3 months of this season until Matthew Tkachuk is back. So it's going to have to be an organizational pulling of the weight right now, and they're in a situation where if one or two guys get hurt, they're looking to Charlotte. They're going to have to bring some guys up and hope that those voids can be filled, and people are going to have to step in and play their role. But overall, I thought in those few minutes that they were without Reinhart and without Evan Rodriguez, did not really see a drop-off in play at all.
Yeah.
The lines were mixed up, and they had guys double shifting or playing extra minutes, but the style didn't change. The energy didn't change. The intensity didn't change. It was the exact same Panther style that you're used to seeing. And like you said, they still generated a ton of chances. I mean, Carter Verhaeghe had a couple of really short 2-on-1 opportunities that he could have scored on. Brad Marchand had a tremendous opportunity in the third and a great one-on-one move. Sam Reinhart, same thing. Luke Cunnin had a huge opportunity shorthanded. Then he had another one grinding with Gadjo and AJ Greer. And then Anton Lundell also had a great opportunity, rang it off the post. But they definitely had their fair share of chances, and it's kind of proof that the style works even when the talent isn't at the level that they are used to putting on the ice. It's not just talented players; it's also a system that produces. And they got a ton of opportunities, and most nights they're going to bury more of those. So I thought they looked really, really good, especially the forward group being very limited.
Yeah, and to think that the Chicago Blackhawks are the ones that take the early lead in this one, and then the Panthers a minute and 3 seconds later, and then 2 goals in 3 minutes and 2 seconds. And then you think of all the goals the Panthers scored on the night, third and fourth line, and the second power play unit. AJ Greer is the guy who gets the first goal of the game, where, I mean, you think about how the Panthers are able to get the puck out, and then the off puck movement, like I mentioned, winning races the puck, and then Gadjo with right there to set him up, and then getting that first goal of the game. And then the second one, Panthers are coming with speed. Spencer Knight is opening the getting to the above the crease to take away the angle, but he's backing in as the shot's going. So Carter Verhaeghe has a whole bunch of space to shoot into the net to get the second goal of the game for the Panthers. And I mean, for Florida to get all those depth guys scoring, I mean, that's a big luxury as the Florida Panthers once again grinded one out. And then Jesper Boqvist 9:40 into the third period, another race to the puck. Mackie Samoskevich sets up Boqvist 2 primary assists on the night, which I'll get to Mackie Samoskevich a little bit later. But I mean, you think about this, both Chicago goals was the Panthers living by the pinch and dying by the pinch. That's their game. We've seen it work so many times, and that was one of the occasions where the Chicago Blackhawks were able to get the odd man rushes. I mean, it was the second line for the Blackhawks, the Teravainen, Bertuzzi, Frank Nazar, and the goal that Frank Nazar scored, that was his only shot on goal in the game. I saw the amount of times that the Panthers were able to close in on him as the game went on, the how they limited Nazar after, and then Bedard, he's the only forward who had more than a shot on goal. 4 out of the 6 defensemen had 2 shots on goal. So the Panthers not giving second chance opportunities after those few odd man rushes, I mean, quite impressive.
Yeah, there were a couple of guys on the Chicago side who stood out, but I think the Panthers defended him really well. I think Nazar was one of them. There was a lot of questions about his contract, given the fact that he's only played a few NHL games.
It's a steal, in my opinion.
And it looks like it might be. I mean, he looked tremendous yesterday. The skating ability is there, the skill is there, the one-on-one ability to win those one-on-one battles, and I think he's going to be a tremendous player. And he sprung free on a breakaway, scores on it, but after that he was pretty quiet, even though he could have generated a lot more. The way he was playing, the Panthers defense was suffocating. I think they did a tremendous job on Bedard. He had one opportunity with a shot from distance early in the first period.
Ring the post.
Hit the post or crossbar and ended up not going in. But he was moving it the entire night, and he was dangerous on the power play. But they kept him to the outside, and I think that's the key when you play a guy like him. And the defense as well for Chicago. You mentioned that a couple of their defensemen, or 4 of their 6 defensemen, had multiple shots on goal. Forwards really didn't. That's a really good sign for the Panthers defense, because that tells you that everything is coming from the outside.
Yeah,
everything is coming from the point. They're not generating a lot in close. They're not giving up a ton of slot chances. Keep everything to the outside. Give Bob a chance to see it, and they're going to be okay.
Yeah, the lower percentage shots really we're helping the Panthers not give up those goals against and keep it at 2, which is, hey, for the Panthers, these 2-1, 3-2 games, those are the type of games that they love playing. But coming up in segment number 2, we are going to discuss our 3 stars of the game, and we are going to discuss the moment when we thought the game was won. We'll discuss that more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. And you realize your business needed to hire someone yesterday? How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posts seen on other sites. Indeed Sponsored Jobs puts your post at the top of the page to help you reach the right candidates faster. I've been at a point where I needed to make the right hire yesterday. The pressure's on, and every day without the right person is a setback. That's exactly when Indeed's sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Segment number 2 here on this Wednesday, October 8th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. Armando Velez here with Jacob Winans on another edition of Winans Wednesday on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. The Panthers defeated the Chicago Blackhawks once again by a final score of 3-2 in regulation on opening night. So it is the regular season. We don't do these during the preseason. So it's finally great to once again do the 3 stars of the game in a win and discuss the turning point, which is the moment where we knew the game was won. So I want to discuss my stars of the night for the Florida Panthers in their 3-2 win. Number 3 star, I got to go with Aaron Ekblad. I thought he was outstanding last night. Just the like we mentioned, the gap control, the physicality, the winning of the board battles, the fact that he was able to find his forward from the corners to the blue line, blue line in their own end to get the pucks out quick. I thought that he truly had an outstanding hockey game. Number 2 star, I'm going to go with Jesper Boqvist getting the GWG. After the game, he said that he's never played baseball. It's that time of year in October where the puck goes in the air from Mackie Samoskiewicz's setup, and then he just bats it right in. And like we mentioned, Spencer Knight was outstanding with how he was able to stop the Panthers breakaways. But the Panthers, with those high danger chances and crashing the net like they were, finished with 37 shots on the night. Jesper Boqvist, it was one of those shots that it's, the puck is going different ways. You're trying to track it. Spencer Knight wasn't able to track that one as well as the other shots. So Jesper Boqvist getting that GWG, and then Mackie Samoskiewicz's, the 2 primary assists, changing his number from number 25 to number 11. We've seen how legendary that number's been. Bill Lindsay, Jonathan Huberdeau, Gregory Campbell. So Mackie Samoskiewicz's is my first star of the game. And then honorable mentions, AJ Greer with also the fight with Nick Foligno, Gustav Forsling, Aaron Ekblad's defense partner, and Luke Cunnin being that grinder for that fourth line. But your 3 stars of the game and any honorable mentions.
Yeah, I'll start with an honorable mention, and that's going to go to Spencer Knight. I thought he played a fantastic hockey game yesterday for Chicago, and Panthers easily could have scored 5 or 6 in that game, if not for some really, really huge saves. I thought he looked really calm, composed, and his lower body was very impressive. Got post to post really quickly, and he looked very, very in control of the crease, which is good to see. I'm glad he's having that development over there in Chicago. He's going to be a really, really good player. And on the ESPN broadcast, they made a comment after his big save on Brad Marchand in the third period. They said it resembled Bobrovsky, and I think his time behind Bob was key for his development, and I'm excited to see what he does there in Chicago. So he's my honorable mention. My third star is AJ Greer. Huge goal to get the game even right after Chicago took the lead in the first period. He gets it right back, gets the energy going, ends up getting into a fight with Foligno. Didn't really come out on the winning end of that one. Foligno's a tough customer, but he did his job. He was 1 assist away from a Gordie Howe hat trick, and definitely could have gotten it with some of the chances Luke Cunnin was having in the third period, especially. I thought Greer was tremendous, played his role to a T, and with the controversy surrounding AJ Greer in the preseason, for him to come out and have that kind of opening game was big, and I think he's going to be a really key piece to the team this year. Second star for me is going to be Jesper Boqvist. I thought he was flying most of the night. His ice time was a little bit uneven with all the special teams early. He didn't really get on the ice as much as he probably expected to. But then the thing with Jesper Boqvist is when he's in the lineup or whenever he's getting the ice time, he seems to always come up with a big goal.
Twice in the postseason it's happened.
Twice in the postseason.
Toronto and the Carolina series.
Yeah, and he sometimes pulls out these goals where it's like, where did that level of skill come from? I think back to a game against New Jersey last year when he skates into the zone kind of 1-on-2 and completely undresses Dougie Hamilton and scores a highlight reel goal. His goals always seem to be highlight reel or massive moments in games. So no different last night. I think Boqvist came through, and he's a clutch player. Number 1 star, though, definitely Mackey. His puck possession was incredible. He's improved a ton as a skater. He's strong on his skates. He forechecks hard. He gets in behind the D, and he can make a lot happen from below the hashes. But then also when it's forechecking time, he's not a big guy. He's definitely a smaller guy, but he throws his weight around, and I like that. And I think the skill is always going to shine through with Mackey. He's got tremendous hands. He's got a ridiculously good shot. He's got the vision. But what I'm really impressed with is the fact that he's taken on this Panther identity, and he's a hard forechecker, and he's not afraid to get his body in there, and he wins board battles. So he's really rounding into a complete player right now, and I think he's going to have a huge season. Yeah,
and you spoke about the minutes distribution. Even for Mackie Samoskevich getting 2 points on the night and being a +1, 11 minutes and 18 seconds of ice time for Mackie Samoskevich only. I mean, the Panthers got quite a few amount of power plays on the night. I mean, 2 of them early. Oh, those were the only 2 ones, and then Mackie Samoskevich doesn't play PK time. I mean, to think also the fill-ins that the Panthers had to do on the penalty kill, especially when Sam Reinhart went to the locker room to get the stitches. I mean, Brad Marchand was with Anton Lundell, Jesper Boqvist, Etulis Turainen were out there as well. Brad Marchand, even Paul Maurice spoke after the game that he doesn't want to overtax Brad Marchand and Sam Reinhart on the PK, but we'll see how that turns out in the regular season, as that's going to be the real key for the Panthers in this early part of the season when it comes to special teams, especially. So that is definitely going to the time will tell on that one. But the moment where we knew the game was won, once the Jesper Boqvist goal was through the net, the Panthers they allowed the Teuvo Teravainen to get the goal 1 minute in. No score the rest of the second period. 10 minutes through, okay, this is like we mentioned, the theme of the show is grinding one out. And then 10 minutes in, the Panthers, if it's leading or tied after the third period, most times we've seen the Panthers either shut it down or really tilt the ice in their direction. And once they were able to get that Jesper Boqvist score, and even before the Chicago took their timeout, when they were getting the extra attacker, Spencer Knight, it took a long time for him to get off so that they could get that extra attacker, which how the Panthers once again controlled the neutral zone, which was which you need that, especially when it's putting less pressure on your goaltender and Sergei Bobrovsky. I thought that was that's not the with a minute left in the game. That wasn't necessarily my moment, but that was a very important moment. But ultimately, it was Jesper Boqvist's goal.
Yeah, for me, it was at the end of the second period. I felt like the Panthers had a little bit of a drop off in the second. I think Chicago kind of found their game in the second, but when that period ended, still tied 2-2, I felt very, very confident going into the third. The Panthers last year led the NHL in wins when tied after the second period with 13. I felt like their experience was going to shine through. They have a system that is sort of built for those type of games, and I thought there's just no way they were going to come out and lose that third period battle. If you can, and that's kind of going to be the theme this season. If they can get into a third period where it's a tie game or they're up by one or in these tight games, I think more often than not they're going to come out with the win because their experience and the grittiness and the defense that's really going to have to be their identity this year. And I think they showed it yesterday. They leaned on a team that's young and inexperienced. They really imposed their will the entire third period. That third period, what really wasn't close, even though the score was just 1-0. I thought after the second, when it's tied, they survived that little lapse in their play in the second, and they come out into the third in a good position, 2-2. That's a game that they're going to win more often than not. So I was very, very confident after the second period.
Yeah, 11-5 in shots in the third period in favor of the Florida Panthers, and when it started to tilt a little bit in that second period where it was 11-9 in favor of Chicago. And looking up the stat from last year, like you mentioned, the Panthers led the NHL in wins when it was tied. They were exactly 13-8-1, and when leading, 32-4-1. So what an outstanding record! More likely than not, when it's 40 minutes and the Panthers have already gotten their legs going in flow in a game, most times it's at least 1 point that the Panthers will get. It's not often where they end up getting at 0. But coming up in segment number 3, we are going to discuss how we're going to have to get used to this with the Panthers grinding it out in these type of games. And although they got some depth scoring, sometimes it won't always come through when the Panthers do face the better teams. We'll discuss that more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And the NFL season is here. And FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes watching football even more exciting, and when you've got a little something riding on the action, whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So, what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Once again, visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today to get started. Segment 3 here on this Wednesday, October 8th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. Armando Velez here with Jacob Winans on another edition of Winans Wednesday on another edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Florida Panthers win 3-2 in regulation against the Chicago Blackhawks to take their record to 1-0-0. So, Jacob, I've been thinking a lot since the game went final last night for the Panthers. I mean, it's really humbling when you see how the top two lines for the Panthers didn't have a poor game. It was tough for them to get goals on the board, although it was still a lot of pressure that the Panthers put, lots of shots, but finishing is really the part that stuck out for me. And yeah, the depth scoring, like I mentioned, third, fourth line, second power play unit. But this is this for me, looking at it, thinking, okay, there might be situations for the Panthers where you're looking at over-unders for goals in a game. If you're looking at places like FanDuel, more likely than not, I'm going to take the unders on games for the Panthers this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if their goal differential this year is below plus 25, somewhere around there this year.
Yeah, I think the margins are going to be thin this season. A lot of times the recipe is just going to be for the Panthers top line to come out and hopefully cancel out the other top lines. And they're going to have to really rely on depth to kind of push them over the top and get that one extra goal, which is what we saw last night with Jesper Boqvist. In general, I think they're fine playing that way. They can play a tight style. They can play a forechecking style. They don't have to blow teams out to be successful. They don't rely on their offense all the time, but there's going to be a couple things that are going to make this season really interesting, and it's going to be, like you said, the goal differential is going to be one of them. They're going to have to get timely goals because there's going to be a lot of games that they win by one. There might be games that go into overtime, and it's going to be very important that they find a way to get the extra point in a lot of those. The defense is going to have to be tight checking the entire year because a lot of times they're just not going to have the big leads. They're not going to have the offense that can just come through at a moment's notice and score. And then the other thing, they're going to have to get timely goals in the power play. A lot of times that can be the difference, a power play goal here and there, or winning the special teams battle. In a season when you're missing two of your three best offensive talents, and Barkov does so much more than offense. Missing those guys, it's going to be really, really challenging to get the big goals and to build big leads in games. A timely power play goal makes all the difference. We saw it last night. Carter Verhaeghe scores in the power play. And I will say this about Carter Verhaeghe, that was huge. That was a huge goal. Given the regular season he had last year and the concerns about the drop-off in his production last season, the Panthers can't afford to have that this year. Carter Verhaeghe is going to have to produce, and I think he played a fantastic game. And then getting a timely power play goal, if you think about it, in a 3-2 game, that power play goal is just as much the difference in the game as AJ Greer or Jesper Boqvist goal. It was huge. So I think that's going to be the recipe is tight defense, get comfortable in low scoring and tight games. Don't expect to win a lot. Get very comfortable in situations where the opponent has the sixth skater on the ice and the net empty. There's going to be a lot of games that you're winning by 1, winning by 2, and goalie's going to be out. Get comfortable defending in those situations, and try to get some timely power play goals here and there, because a lot of times it's going to be that man advantage. It's going to be the difference. So the recipe's there. They showed it last night. It's just it's going to look a little bit different from what we're used to.
No doubt. And for Carter Verhaeghe, 5 shots on goal and scoring 1. Hey, he was at a shooting percentage of around 8% last year, and right now it's at 20. Although numbers get very skewed during the early parts of the season, so we don't. If he's shooting at 20%, hey, we're loving it here in South Florida. But let's not count on that. But like I mentioned, the top two lines for the Panthers were outstanding for what they did. Although the Corsi percentage for the Lundell line, it was just over 50%, just 12 shot attempts to 11, while they were 5-on-5. The actual shots on goal were 7-3. Same thing with the Sam Bennett line, the top line, 25-6 in as far as shot attempts for to shot attempts against, and then actual shots on goal 13-4. It was just about facing off against the top line for the Chicago Blackhawks. Although they're not the deepest of teams, we see that there's a little bit of promise. But also, once again, the Panthers really took advantage of those bottom 2 pairs for the Blackhawks, especially. And you saw how sometimes there was 10 feet of separation, but the fact that their momentum was still going and they were skating towards the walls of the benches, the Panthers were already getting past them because they already have a head start. So I wonder if we're going to see more of those 2-on-1s breakaways due to the fact that they're as soon as that puck is breaking loose, they're like off to the races.
Yeah, this year is going to have to be a ton of north-south hockey. It's going to be a lot of forechecking, but they also have a lot of speed to carry pucks in, and I think you're going to see a lot of that. Brad Marchand, a full regular season from Marchand, you're going to see more of that. He had a couple last night where you're thinking, just get the puck north-south. We don't need to do anything special, but that's his game, and you're going to see that. But I think with Barkov out, he's probably the Panthers' best player at carrying the puck into the offensive zone with control. Mm-hmm. Sam Bennett is really, really good at it, but he can also get a little bit reckless. Barkov is the most calm, composed, and powerful skater with the puck, entering the zone and establishing possession there, and they're going to be without him. So it's going to have to be north-south hockey. It's going to have to be forechecking. It's going to have to be speed. The one thing about Matthew Tkachuk being out, and this is not a knock on Tkachuk because, I mean, we talk about Tkachuk and all the great things he does all the time. But last season and really his entire career, he graded out as pretty much the slowest skater in the NHL. That speed is not his game.
Yeah.
With him on the shelf right now, the Panthers don't really have any part of the lineup that doesn't have a ton of speed. So the way it looks getting into the zone and establishing possession looks a little bit different without Tkachuk. Now we will gladly take him back in the lineup the second he's ready. He's a huge part of the team. But with him out, they can focus more on a speed game. They can worry about zone entry and establishing possession using their speed a little bit more on that second line than they would normally do. And I think Anton Lundell looked fantastic as a skater yesterday. That's probably the part of his game that he's improved the most since he came into the NHL is his skating and the power in his strides. And I think he looked great. But yeah, with Tkachuk out, it's gonna look different on zone entries because the speed will be the name of the game. And I think they did a great job against a really fast young Chicago team last night, sort of matching and then exceeding their speed. And I think Chicago's a team that has a lot of speed, but the Panthers just are experienced enough to know how to use it. And they know how to work that to their advantage and really put the pressure on some young defensemen. Which Chicago has a lot of young defensemen who are going to be great players in the NHL. It's just that's usually the toughest position and the longest career arc to develop is back there on the blue line. So I think they took advantage.
Yeah, and especially how the Panthers work their give and goes when entering the zone as well. Like the middle of the ice was pretty open. I mean, Sam Bennett, most of his give and goes are going towards using the backhand toward as the other player is going off puck towards the left circle, while Barkov, you see Sam Reinhart on the right, and usually he's going in that direction. If there's the chance for him to get a return feed, he's going usually towards the bottom of the circle and below the hashes there. So also the give and go game for the Panthers was on point, and we see still the habits of them playing their style of play, working those low to highs, and especially off puck movement, which was especially key. And hey, it's a style that once again other teams are trying to imitate, and the Panthers are still, even without two superstars, they're able to do that successfully. Will it happen on a consistent basis? We will see, as the Florida Panthers, their homestand continues on Thursday night against the Philadelphia Flyers, which, as I was walking out of the arena, the Flyers bags were already there last night. So the Flyers are already in town, and the Panthers right away, they are going from one game to the next as they kicked off the 2025-26 season with a dub, and we are right back at it again for another season of Florida Panthers hockey and NHL hockey, as we both were up all the way until the end for the last game of the night of Kings Avalanche, and also the second game of Penguins Rangers. So a great night of hockey, and it's only going to continue tonight with more games, and we're going to have our nights full. Multiple TVs, as right now we are still in October. But Jacob, I want to thank you so much for joining me on today's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Another successful in-person show, my friend. Tell everybody where they can find you online.
Yep, you can follow me on X at JakeW_8, And I think it's safe to say we will definitely be doing this again next year because we are 2-0 when we set up these opening night in-person shows. So definitely appreciate you coming down and making this happen.
Absolutely. So, and can't wait. And we will do this again next week. And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows in the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Steel Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Jacob Winans, and you've been listening to the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.